rain in Spain. Oh, hey, welcome back to still Untitled Project.
Episode 3.
But episode 3, we've
Episode
made it
3.
this far.
Right. Again, best of the prequels. We'll be the best one so far.
Revenge of the Still Untitled podcast.
Yes. I like it. Just rolls off the tongue.
It's literally...
Don't do it.
Okay.
We can't do a Parks moment 2 episodes in a row.
That's fair.
You know what I mean? Like, keep them guessing. Or whatever.
Right. Okay, whatever. Anyway, we got a lot of good stuff for you this time. We're going to keep it shorter. We know the last one was a long podcast.
It was literally as long as a class period.
It literally was. But that was because a lot of you had good questions. This one's going to be much shorter. Which is not English teacher.
Yeah, which is not to say that you don't have here. We were just having this conversation before we started filming that like the English teacher and me can't help but wanting to like outline the structure of the whole video before we get going into it. Like here's our intro. Here comes the thesis statement. Right? I'm going to give you a little bit of a progression of what's going on. So we have some carryover questions that we didn't get to because for as long as last video it was, we didn't answer every freaking question, did we?
No, we probably could have had about 30 more minutes.
No, honestly. So we have a few others from Matt and quite a few from Lauren.
Yep.
Right? So we're going to get to that. And then we asked y'all some questions.
We did.
Which is fun. And
got some good answers.
Yeah, got some good answers. Some people
surprisingly.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely knew that they were going to be good answers.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. No, some people emailed them. I don't know if anybody like responded on Instagram or anything.
I got no straight Instagram responses, but
Gotcha.
People kept me in the loop through Instagram.
And we had a few video responses too, which will feature, I guess, probably a decent amount of them in this video, but not maybe every single one, right? And then from there, we also... I want to talk a little bit about, I think, just kind of our general setup of what's going on here. So people would want to know what kind of behind the scenes looks like.
Yep.
And so just kind of, right now you're just seeing this one wall and then our lovely faces. That's a lie. But, you know, what does the rest of the studio space look like? You know, is my wife still sitting off on the side of the camera and you can't tell? Oh, I don't know.
Now, Meredith, where are you? Oh, she's right there.
So... all that and much more coming up in the next, I don't know, hopefully not an hour,
amount of minutes.
Amount of minutes. The next amount of minutes.
Good work.
Nice. All right. So getting into the carryover from episode 2, the attack of whatever. I know it wasn't the actual name.
If you're in England, do not do this.
Oh, I did just do that, didn't I?
But we're not in England. It's okay. That's essentially the same thing as going over there. Don't do that.
Fun fact, that ended up making it into the opening credits of Buffy season 4.
Okay.
Or season 5, I believe. And the reason is because there was a character who's a vampire.
Buffy.
You're a little too masculine for Buffy, actually.
We're going to talk afterwards.
That was a compliment.
Okay.
Of sorts,
okay,
yeah.
I'll take it.
No, there's a vampire in that show who's from England, and in an episode where he's kind of like just been in a... I think maybe no one can talk in that episode.
Oh, so, that episode.
Yeah, it's really
yeah,
good.
Yeah.
He just kind of looks at this one guy who's annoying him and just goes... And... for the Americans watching this in this American television show on the WB right, then like nobody thought anything of it, but they ran that in the opening credits in the UK, and people were like, it's like Joss Whedon loves getting those jokes by. He did that in the Avengers as well.
Oh, did he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not that, but he snuck in a euphemism that the American audiences didn't get, but the British audiences, when they heard it, were like,
pants.
That is not it, but that's exactly what I know.
Right.
I know exactly what
to
you're talking
us, that's
about.
innocuous.
Right.
To them, that means something completely different.
Yes, it does.
Anyway.
All right.
So what are we talking about next?
None of those were questions.
No, none of you asked about British slang.
No.
I could probably talk to you for a while
I bet
about
you could,
British
honestly.
slang.
Right.
So if that's something you want to know.
We watch enough Doctor Who, right? I mean,
and just
in
lot of
general.
stuff. BBC in general.
That's also
the
true.
Beeb. So when you say the Beeb, you mean Justin Bieber. When I say the Beeb, I mean BBC.
So I'm going to see if I can make that connect, all right?
Okay.
Because you said the Beeb, as in BBC. I imagine if I were over in England watching something on the BBC, I might come across some kind of sporting event.
You could.
Possibly even football, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
As a lot of you know, I'm a big We call it soccer. I coach soccer. I like soccer. They call it football because, you play it with your foot.
That makes too much sense.
That makes too much sense. And I'm not saying I don't like American football. I do like American football. Here's my proposal. American football should be called gridiron. Not only because, I think football should be played with your foot, but that's a way cooler sounding name than football. Gridiron. I'm going to go play gridiron for the Davie High School team. Like, that just sounds way cooler.
There was a German foreign exchange student that my cousin had living in his house his senior year of high school. And when he saw them out there playing football, he just said, we call it hand egg.
Oh, yeah, hand egg. That's a little bit more of the not of nice way of referring to it. But hand egg is also a name that some countries give it.
Yeah, so there you go. All right, but speaking of sports, Matt somebody.
Matt, one of my Matts. Not going to say any of your last names on here.
Not me, Matt. Right, it'd be weird if Matt was asking Matt a question.
That would be weird.
Or if you were calling me that for some reason.
This is Matt that I had.
Yes.
That you will probably have.
Okay, that'd be cool. He wanted to know what our favorite sports were during coronavirus, which really my sports are still going to be my favorite sports, even when it's not coronavirus. But I guess you probably mean maybe favorite sports to play or favorite sports that I can actually watch now.
I'm guessing it's like, since everything is canceled,
yes.
What has been your favorite current sport?
So I think the answer has to vary a little bit because it depends on what you're asking. Are we talking about for participation? Or are we talking about, is there still something out there that you can watch, right?
Right.
So for participation, it's the two things I always do, running and taekwondo.
Right.
And even the taekwondo, I can't really do as much as I used to because we're just doing like online taekwondo. Like that just sounds like...
How does that even work?
This about as well as online English.
Oh, okay.
To be honest. Except it's a lot harder to teach a kid how to do a jump spin crescent kick on an online lesson, so I just haven't even been bothering. I was like, there are other people who can take care of it.
I heard crescent, and now I'm hungry. Also, crescent moons.
Crescent moons. Moon pies.
I have some, like, athletic fundraiser PTSD from
gosh,
moon pies,
yes.
So let's not talk about
If you were
that.
one of the ones who came up to me asking you to buy a moon pie, would you like to buy a moon pie? Can you buy a moon pie? I bought one of those moon pies, Jordan. It was not great.
We got whatever the fundraiser version of semantic satiation is from moon pies. And if you don't know what that means, it's when you say a word so often, it doesn't even sound like it's a word anymore.
I watched. And then, right before this whole coronavirus stuff, the band had the world's finest chocolate bars.
Yep.
And I was so happy because I was saying to, I think Andrew in my first period is like, hook me up with some of that. And then he never did, and now he can't. And I'm so disappointed. I love World's Finest Chocolate Bars. If you're selling World's Finest Chocolate Bars sometime next year, come to my room. I will probably buy some from you. Not from everybody, not your entire stash, but I am going to buy some.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
That's fair for me too. They are good.
They're really
surprisingly good. For fundraiser chocolate.
Right. And I wish that when we ran cross country, we could actually sell stuff like that. They may have sell flowers. I think at one point, because it's like we can't sell unhealthy stuff that we wouldn't eat while we were training, so we couldn't sell the chocolate bars.
I mean, I guess I get that.
I mean, I would have bought them and eaten them all, so I understand that. So my answers aren't super exciting in that regard, but I still can go for a run. I have been running; they haven't been great runs.
No, same for me.
But I can go for a run, and I can go outside and do some taekwondo. Kind of, it's a little cramped in the house, but I can do something.
This pollen has been killing me on my runs.
It's been killing me.
It's breathing is a struggle sometimes.
If my throat gives out at any point during this, it's because I was outside for longer than I wanted to be today and just not loving it. So what have you been up to besides some sporadic pollen runs?
I don't like sports.
Oh, no.
I think sports are dumb.
I'll just wait for the real answer.
Fair enough. So for participating, running, it's not like I'm running a race or anything. All those have been canceled. But just running for exercise and for fun and to keep in shape and everything. I'm also, yes, Connor, if you're watching this, I finally bought iRacing. Give me some time to practice, and then you and me and Morgan will all go race eventually. I will probably not win, but I will just wreck you instead. Just general workouts, like kind of body weight stuff. push-ups, sit-ups, core exercises, things like that to keep in shape as much as you can without being able to go to a gym. I know I don't look like I work out, but I look like this because I do work out. I'm just kind of a small person in general. I'm not going to, I can't Coach Gould it up. I can't be as, an absolute beast like he is. But I do work out. I'm more sportsy than you think I am. Like, don't let my small frame, throw you off from that. I was probably faster than almost all of you when I was in high school. He and I have had debates about that. I also wasn't a runner.
But you should have been.
I should have been.
Yes.
Because I was quite quick.
Yes.
But that's a situation we can't go back to because that's a long time ago.
Whenever you brought up racing, and I wasn't even thinking about, we were talking about running, but I just had flashbacks to Rugged Maniac.
Oh, yeah.
Which, if you've never done anything like that before, it's obstacle course 5Ks. We did that in October, and honestly, there would have been another one like this month, wouldn't there?
Yeah,
because we
were
had
thinking
talked
about it.
Yeah.
I think he and I set a goal to finish like top 10 in our heat. And I think we wanted to get under 30 minutes for the 5K, which is not fast, but then you throw in obstacles, and that's where you lose a bunch of your time.
It is perfectly acceptable if you're having to do, like, the little zip line over a mud pit kind of thing.
Like army crawls and stuff like that.
Jumping over fire.
Yeah, that was cool.
Jumping over fire.
Literally jumped over fire.
It's super fun. There's another story to go along with that I don't want to get into right now.
No, I know which one you're talking about. That's a different story.
That might be for the future. So instead, we'll shift over because we have 3 questions from Lauren, and honestly, they're all really good. So I don't mind hitting those real quick if that's all right.
Let's go for it.
All right. Her first one was do we have any English or science memes that we'd want to review?
So I don't have a meme, but I was looking some up in preparation for this. A lot of them aren't funny. There were quite a few funny ones that I should not advocate for you to find. But if you did and you got it, they're pretty funny. Yeah. I will say this story for you. I found one, and I'll post it somewhere here. And
it's going to look really embarrassing if you don't get edited in later.
Maybe that's the meme. Maybe I become the meme. Like when somebody holds a blank piece of paper and you just Photoshop all the stuff on front of it. Like I'm doing right now, but don't have a piece of paper for that reason.
Oh, you just gave them some ideas.
There are a few of you out there, if you're watching this, that have already made about 50 memes of me.
That's true.
I'm not worried about becoming more of a meme.
That's true. I saw that one a couple days ago. I was grading a video.
That's true.
That's right.
But what I was going to say is the question that was up there somewhere, I'll pop it up again right here. I found out it was 2:00 in the morning when I was doing this. I started trying to solve it. And then I realized that I started trying to solve it and kind of self-nerd sniped. And then I went ahead and solved it anyway. And that answer was also going to be here. Maybe it will help you in pre-cal. There you go.
Yeah. And English ones I find are also not particularly funny in general. Either it's students who've been given the assignment to make memes. Not that I've ever done that before. And they're just like...
It works.
Okay. But there is one that Nick... You know who I'm talking about.
I do.
Yeah. That Nick showed me, I want to say a few years ago, and I ended up putting it on my test at the end of the units for Oedipus. And it is the story of Oedipus. Oedipus comes upon the Sphinx, who is plaguing the city of Thebes, and she has a riddle that he has to solve or she'll kill him and keep plaguing the city. And so I'm sure we'll put it up here.
Yeah, we can make that work.
Or maybe you just overlay it anyway.
Or maybe I just pop it in front of your face.
When Oedipus reached Thebes, he encounters the Sphinx who says, if you must pass the riddle, what goes on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs in the afternoon, and 3 in the evening? And the answer to that is...
I'm dead.
Man! Crawling on all 4s as a baby, walking upright as a man, and then with a cane in their old age. And so
that's not a riddle.
It passed for a riddle for the ancient Greeks.
I disagree, but I don't have anywhere to lodge that complaint.
That's fair.
Considering that was written probably about 2,500 years ago.
Almost exactly.
There you go.
Almost exactly. What I love is that in the version here, Oedipus says, I don't know, probably one of those new Pokemon.
Probably.
I wouldn't be surprised if one of them didn't change the number of legs whilst evolving.
Probably.
Right?
Which, by the way, that's not what real evolution is. Just to clear that up.
Not that didn't stop a bunch of moms in the 90s from telling their kids that they couldn't play Pokemon because it advocated evolution.
That's true. Yeah, that's not what
We are
it is.
not making that up. We also I had the same thing happen to a friend of mine when I was getting into Harry Potter. Yep.
Witchcraft.
Yeah, witchcraft. I have a book in my classroom, so unfortunately can't show it to you right now, but it's one that someone showed me and gave me that I found fascinating, which was Harry Potter and the Occult or something like that. And it was basically this pastor or whatever going into a lengthy and detailed and totally accurate analysis of how Harry Potter was advocating for Satanism amongst the youth of today. Making one point that still sticks out to my head is saying, when kids said, "Oh, I'd love to go to a school like Hogwarts because it just seems fun to cast spells," is a pretty innocent thought. But he's saying it is, improbable to say that every single child who says that they like this would go on to explore Satanism and witchcraft, but it is equally improbable to say that none will.
That is a blatant misuse of statistics.
I know. It was so bad, but it's in the book. And that book was published and put out there, and people bought it and didn't buy Harry Potter for their kids because of that. What Harry Potter did for me was it made me like reading more and probably put me on the path to being an English teacher. Like, to be perfectly honest. So I always laugh at that because I thought Harry Potter clearly won that debate. I mean,
a little bit.
Just a little
Considering
bit.
I never heard of that book until I walked into your classroom one day, and I know every single Harry Potter book and movie. And I'm not even particularly into Harry Potter.
Yes.
Like, I made it through halfway, and that was it. So it's not even like I'm a big Harry Potter fan.
This needs to be a thing. I got him to read Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green.
That's
after
true,
talking about it. Maybe you should start reading Harry Potter books.
I got nothing else to do, I guess.
There you go. Yeah, we're not busy.
No.
We're not busy at all. All right, so there was that. The other Lauren question, which was student cringe stories.
I think I have either not had that many or just blocked them all out, but his makes up for both of ours.
Okay. And I mean, there's multiple, but it's funny when I saw that question, I was like, I don't really know. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh.
Yes, he does.
No, I do.
He
Okay.
does.
So if any of you have had my class, you know that we do a project called Genius Hour. Genius Hour is where you get 12 weeks to work on some project, something that you set, a goal that you want to achieve, usually, and you just have that time frame to get it done. Like right now, I'm working on recording a lot of music and doing that. And I've worked on a novel, and then you're doing photography and Photoshop and all this kind of fun stuff. This, honestly, is part of this too, right? So I had all that to say that as a musician, I'm usually pretty supportive of anybody who wants to do a music Genius Hour project.
Knowing full well and advising ahead of time that it's probably not going to be the next top 40 hit.
Correct, right? So I had a student who, like some others, said that he wanted to write a song. And I'm like, okay, cool.
What instrument did he play?
He did not know how to play an instrument.
Okay, but he at least took like chorus or something?
No.
But he had some software that would help him with this.
He didn't at the time he was proposing the project, but he was planning on getting it.
I don't think this is starting well.
Not so much.
Continue.
So he said, I'm going to write a song, but I have no experience with songwriting. I don't know how to play an instrument. And I'm like, okay, it's probably going to be a little difficult, but if you need help with stuff, are you wanting to... And I asked him, do you want to learn an instrument then as part of this process? He says, no, I'm just going to use a program.
I don't think that's how that works. I think you have to have some music theory in order to go behind this.
Well, and what's funny is I went back and found his website, and he was talking about how he was using a guitar app and had been writing his song. And I'm thinking, honestly, now with the benefit of hindsight and knowing all of what I know about recording software, I feel like it was just GarageBand. Because you can do Guitar Simulator stuff on that, and you could record it technically. GarageBand in 2016-ish, I mean, I feel like you probably could have pulled that off. And he said he needed a tablet to do it, but he didn't have the tablet till like week 10 out of 12.
Okay.
So all that is context, and also he said that his song was called Dark Heart. And I think it was supposed to be a metal song, but like in that mid 2000s kind of, it wanted to be metal, but kind of wasn't metal kind of sound.
Yeah, I know what you're
If
talking
that
about.
makes sense.
It's kind of like some bands we were discussing
Sort of.
yesterday,
Sort of.
but they had some talent.
Yes.
And I don't know this person, so I'm not saying you don't have
I'm not,
talent.
and again, this is gonna sound like I'm really bashing this guy. It's just, and I'm not. He's a nice guy. It was just, this was not great because it came time to give his presentation. Genius Hour presentation is supposed to take about 6 to 8 minutes, and that should usually be hard to do because you had so much content to talk about.
Like the point of that is learning how to limit to the important bits.
So he came up to give his presentation and said, "So over these 12 weeks, I decided to write a song. It's called Dark Heart. And I used an app and I wrote it. But then I deleted the program off my phone. So I don't have it right now. Are there any questions?" Yeah. I mean, honestly, and I just kind of raised my hand. I said, "I've got a couple." Just a couple. So I asked him, well, why did you delete the program? And what do you think his reason was?
It messed up, maybe.
Oh,
like,
no.
Like it messed his phone up.
Well, only if you count not having enough storage space in your phone messing your phone up.
Isn't this like a double test grade?
This is a huge grade.
Okay.
And he deleted the app.
All right.
And was just standing there I just deleted the app. I said, "Why?" "I didn't have enough space on my phone." "Did you save the song somewhere else?"
Okay,
No.
that would at least make sense.
Yeah.
No?
No.
Okay.
He did not save the song somewhere else. He didn't download it. He didn't back it up. He couldn't present the lyrics when we asked him to. He said he'd
Did you have
written
like a
those
paper
first.
copy?
No.
I have ideas about this project.
I
I'm not going to say them on camera, but I have an idea.
I had some ideas too.
Okay.
Yeah. I gave him credit for standing up and presenting.
It's a solid 20.
He stood up and presented. It was not great. I felt bad for him in the sense that I'm like, this has got to be awkward for not just you, but everybody else in the room. But I didn't feel bad for him not reaching his goal because clearly at no point did he ask anybody for help.
Because 12 weeks is 3 months.
Right.
It's not like this sneaks up on you.
And it's not like he didn't know a musician in the room that he could ask questions about songwriting.
That would have impact on his grade.
Right. So it goes. Right.
It's one of my favorite Kurt Vonnegut quotes.
Yeah. I'm going to sneak in as many literary references as we can.
I like it. Let's see how many I pick up.
All right. But yeah, that was just one of those things where I just sat there and I'm like, I've had worse presentations since then, but that one's probably the one that made me cringe the most. That just came to mind. I don't know if you have anything else that can top that.
No. All right. Last question. As we kind of clean up episode 2 and then actually move on to episode 3, we're going to keep this one quick. How do you fake extroversion? Lauren, again, thanks for the questions, Lauren. Still wants to know. Let's see if you can do it in 4 sentences.
In 4 sentences.
I'm going to try to do it too.
All right. A lot of it comes down to me recognizing that extroversion is not about being out there and being animated and interacting with people. Extroversion by definition is getting energy from interacting with others, and introversion is kind of getting energy from being away from and being able to like recharge, so to speak. But extroverts really need that interaction to do that. For me, I think it came down to theater helping me be a little bit less in my head about what people thought about me, and then recognizing that when I'm in a situation like this or in a classroom or even just interacting with people that I don't really know, I'm not really myself anyway. That's not to say that I'm faking it with people, but we're all kind of faking it in any interaction anytime anyway, aren't we? Does that make sense? Like it's actually a pretty difficult question to answer, which is why I'm glad she asked it. I don't mean to say that we're all like lying to each other, But also we kind of are, aren't we? Like nobody is really themselves with every single person they interact with.
I'm just trying to not use my 4 sentences.
I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding. No, I think that's all true though. Like, to not just double up with what you just said, because it doesn't make sense to hear it from both of us. When I was your age, I was not good at it at all. Even when I needed / wanted to be, I just wasn't. Now I could, be open with my friends and be extroverted that way, and I liked hanging out with people I was, selectively choosing to hang out with, but that's because I felt comfortable with them already. It wasn't like I could just walk up to a new lunch table, next semester and just start talking to a bunch of new people. That is still not my personality. But what I have been able to develop is kind of this fake persona that still has enough of the real me in it, that I'm not lying to you,
Mm-hmm.
and that I'm not lying to whomever it is I'm speaking to, or whatever group I'm talking to, or whatever team I'm coaching. It's still me. It's just not the real me.
Yeah.
Like the essence is there, but some of the details have been changed. It's like what some of you do with your homework. But seriously, it's recognizing a need for that and figuring out, even if it's uncomfortable and even if you don't like doing it, it's part of growing up and it's part of figuring out, especially for us, we're kind of on stage every day, if you want to think of it like that, in front of a classroom. And obviously, the more we get to know you and the more, relationships we can build and learn details about you, that's helpful. But at the beginning, like the first week or two, I'm just straight faking it up there. Like, I hope I do a good job. But I tell you that. I don't hide away from that fact. I've never tried to be a teacher that pretends like I'm anything but what I am, other than switching to being an extrovert. Everything else that you get from me is real.
Yep. It's funny you're talking about just like it's the essence, but just a few details changed. It just makes me think of all those trailers for movies based on a true story.
Our lives are based on a true story.
Honestly, yeah. Everything we say, every memory we conjure is something that is a construct. I mean, you can tell stories like we've been telling, and they are accurate as much as we can remember them being accurate,
or are willing to tell you.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff we do that we self-censor, and our brains forget certain things too over time, until you kind of get a version of a story that makes you look better, because nobody wants to be the villain in their own story. No one wants to be the bad person, or the one who was like the most, oh yeah, I can't stand that guy because of what they were doing. We all try to fake that aspect of it. It's not just limited to Instagram. Yeah, it's not just limited to YouTube videos.
So we have something we're going to segue into in just a second about this that we think it's important, and we're going to link that below. But the last thing I want to say with this is, sometimes, more unsolicited advice, sometimes you are the villain, and sometimes you have to recognize that. Going through your whole life and pretending like you're always the protagonist, and protagonist, English terms, doesn't always mean that you are the good guy. It just means you are the main point of the story. You're always your own protagonist, but you're not always the hero.
Woo!
How's that for science, guy?
Man, I will take that.
Anyway, why is everything fake? I don't know. Find out after this. So, what we meant by being fake, we don't mean, go lie to people. What we meant was that we're all putting on different personas around different people, and that's okay as long as you're telling the truth. How you tell it can be up to you, as long as you're actually telling the truth.
Yeah, there's a difference between lying and then just, I don't even want to say the exaggeration aspect of it, but it's not unlike that, because I don't ever feel like I'm lying about my personality. Everything that you're hearing from me in here is a real thought that I have, right? We just might say it one way on the video than we would in the classroom, or that we would if we were just having a conversation when the cameras are off, but it's still going to be at the heart what we believe about something.
Right.
Right.
And to go more into depth, another video that does a better job explaining it than we can, because he's been doing it much longer than us. Hank Green, it'll be linked down there. writer of
An Absolutely Remarkable Thing.
There you go.
Which hopefully, if you have me this semester, we'll get a chance to read. I don't know. If you had me before, then you've hopefully read it. And such a good book.
It is.
It's a really good book.
New book coming out
July 7th.
We're not going to tell you anything else about it, though.
That's
All
true.
right, so let's just get straight to these answers. We're going to do answers that were written in first, and then we have some video responses at the end. So, first one, take it away.
I was going to make a lame joke first.
Go for
If
it.
that's all right. It's
Go for it.
You know, we're talking about being fake, but we really wanted your real answers. Watch Parks and Rec. No, okay. I said I wasn't going to do that again. All right. So the first one is from Abby, who asked a question last time.
Yep.
And then we found out from, I think it was a YouTube comment.
It was a YouTube comment.
Yeah, that neither of us actually taught her.
Correct.
Right. Which is kind of cool. Like, so awesome. So, hey.
Glad you're watching.
Thanks for tuning back in again. And there's a few like this on here where it's like neither of us taught the person, but I think that's awesome. So, yeah.
You know, and if we don't know you or never had you, you know, as long as you're a student at Davie, cool.
Yeah.
Talk to us.
Yeah. Former even,
Yeah,
right?
whatever.
Because one of the questions on here was from a student that I had 2 years in a row. He's in college now. Like, yeah. Awesome.
There you go.
Right. So we asked 4 questions. Do we want to outline the 4 questions first?
I'll just pop them right here.
All right.
Pause if you need.
We just paused anyway. This is so unnecessary. All right. So, and the first one about how's the situation been from you? What I like, Abby, your response was just straight up, I'm going crazy. And I hope they find a cure for Rona real quick. Right.
I think we were all in that boat with you.
I get that. Right. It's funny because I don't feel like I'm going as crazy as I could be, but I think that's the introversion.
It's starting to hit.
I mean, it is a little bit.
Especially with not being able to like go hike or take pictures or something.
Yeah.
Like I can't go wander and do photography as I would. That's starting to get pretty annoying.
Like we can pick up like takeout orders for food and stuff like that. So
I haven't even been doing that.
It still feels weird to even do that. My wife and I went to Thai Harmony. Well, I say went to Thai Harmony. We drove to 3rd Street.
They slowed down and they just chucked it in the window.
Right. And we just went off. And even that, like we were being super cautious. Like, okay, you get out of the car. And then you take the hand sanitizer, and they even had sanitizer like in the restaurant apparently, and they're wiping stuff down. And then she wiped down the card, and we came back, and then we washed our hands again. So that aspect's a little annoying. That I'm like, I hope that we don't all collectively forget the importance of washing hands when this is all done.
Oh, we will.
I know we will.
We absolutely
I'm aspiring to it, but like I'm super conscious of hand washing right now, and it's a little annoying if that makes sense. So in that sense, I can definitely get the whole crazy thing. I want to point out another thing, Abby, you said, because I guess you had Offhammer. So hey, it's not like you got like the worst end of the deal. Like he's still cool, right?
Still quite a good teacher.
Shout out Mr. Offhammer if you happen to be watching this. Apparently, Offhammer used to bribe students to clean his whiteboard and desk by giving them Mountain Dew.
So
that's cool.
I tell my last class of the day, whatever that is, that they have to do it, and that's it. So they've been getting shortchanged apparently.
Apparently, yeah. And but she says, I did enjoy that Mountain Dew though, because you know what? I guess
There
you
you
had to work for it, and there is something important there, right?
There you go.
So I guess your 4th period lost the game.
It probably did lose the game. All right, next one up. Izzy H. One of the Izzies that I had at the same time. That wasn't, frustrating to deal with all 4 of you in one class.
Oh, I forgot about that because I only have
4 in one class.
I only have Izzy L.
Yeah.
Sup, Izzy?
But I enjoyed all 4 of you. So something that they remember from one of our classes.
Mm-hmm.
Izzy mentioned something from my class, and one of the design challenges that we did. Sorry, people I have right now, probably not going to get to do those.
Yeah.
If we do go back, I will definitely make sure that you get to do at least 2 of them. But we did an egg drop off the back of the stadium, and I had a few left over, and we tried to see who could throw it the farthest. And I threw one, and it hit right on the strongest point of the shell. And rather than cracking, it bounced like another 15 yards.
Yeah.
And she said that everyone went crazy, and it was awesome. Like, it just took off another 15 yards. I've kind of never felt cooler than throwing an egg and have it not break.
I'm going to skip over the next one because it's a video. We're going to put all the video responses a little bit later.
And we're actually going to put all of the responses up.
Yes.
It just, they're not all going to be in this video.
But another one, this is Caroline, but you said CJ?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mentioned another memory at Davy, which was at one time in her fourth period, she and three of her friends could not stop laughing. And so one of them caught the hiccups and she put out her hand saying, give me the hiccup touch. And then not 2 minutes later, she had the hiccups, which is just such a weird thing. Like all of a sudden it's like...
Are hiccups transferable?
Hiccups transferable by touch, apparently, which is fascinating. I did not know...
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands. Because we're just passing COVID and hiccups, right? Ooh, COVID and hiccups.
Maybe that's our title.
Yeah.
I don't know. It might get dated.
It very well might. But I'm going to make a note because I am sick of not remembering the name of stuff when I get asked about it later.
Maybe we can just title it Wash Your Hands and Listen.
Ooh, that's also a good one.
Anyway, we're just brainstorming here.
So you're seeing this process happening right in front of you. Go ahead.
Lily, another one that neither of us had, but did have an interesting run-in with Mr. Barker.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So she said during her sophomore year, she was walking into class or just in the morning in general.
She was on the stairwell.
In the stairwell. And being, the friendly person you are, said, "Good morning." And she said, "I'm not very social or good at conversations. We got you." Apparently, in response to "good morning," said, "Happy birthday." So, at least you've gotten that one out of the way and you have a funny story to tell now.
That's so funny because, there's a part of my mind that's now trying to reconstruct that moment because it's in an email, right? And I'm just like, do I remember that? I don't know if I do. And it's so I don't know if my mind's tricking me into remembering it.
So many things happen to us that we
right.
can't remember all
and that
of
is in no way a slight against you or against anything
or to
else.
any of you that we forget things about.
No, it's just you forget most of the things that happen to you in your life anyway. Like you have to.
GTA reference there.
Also just there's
no
Vsauce.
Okay.
Yeah, because he does a whole video on the forgetting curve.
Fair
which
enough.
You should check out. I think we'll link that one too if we can find it. That one was pretty interesting. There was another Lily.
Yep.
And I just want to get to her point because it actually ties in really well to the next one from Lauren. They're both answering two different questions, but they kind of had similar answers, which I thought was fascinating. The question of what's the best or worst thing to come from all this. And so Lily R mentioned that the worst thing to come from this whole COVID-19 situation is the fact that we can't be social. # social distancing. # you've heard that way too many times.
Right.
But I mean, honestly. And so that's interesting because that came up again when Lauren was answering the question, how's the situation been for you? And she says, the situation's been hard for me because I feel so trapped.
Right.
And so that's along with the whole going crazy thing, that feeling of entrapment. I mean, I get that too. But what I really like about both of these responses, and I'm going to particularly give a shout out here to you, Lauren, is where you went from there. Because you said you were wanting to get your license, you were going to get your license, and that's a bummer, and I get it.
That's a big deal.
That's a big deal.
I remember getting my license. It's a big moment.
And that was a great day. Like the day that I got home from the DMV, and then I let my dad out of the car, and then I drove to school. It was so weird because there was nobody.
Same thing.
I know, right?
Mom.
Yeah,
with my mom. Yeah,
I had an uncontrollable giddiness. Like I was laughing because it was like I can't believe I'm driving and nobody else is in the car. It was
but
so
also, on a scale of 1 to 10, how petrified were you?
I was pretty dang scared that something was going to
10.
happen. Yes,
which is funny because I feel like I'm a pretty good driver, especially now.
Yes.
No 16-year-old boy is ever a good driver.
Nope.
Don't let them lie to you.
No, they are not.
But I was still careful, and I was mortified of what if I get in a wreck on the first time I ever drive by. Luckily, I didn't.
Yeah, what if I hit a car pulling the parking lot or something like that? But here's what I really like about Lauren. What you said after that is that I try to reframe my mindset because I know this is not about me at all, and there are people who are actually suffering. But it's tough being alone in my thoughts instead of having an outlet to distract myself. I'm missing school so much. I'm having a real hard time with time management, getting my assignments turned in. And I like the fact that you mentioned, there are other people who clearly have it a lot worse. And I think that's good for us to remember. But we were just having a conversation about this in between scenes too, which is that just because other people do have things like worse than you, and we are like as just average American citizens in like the top 15% of the richest people in the whole world, just being like a middle class American, that doesn't mean that your problems don't matter.
No, and that's something to remember, is just because someone else has it worse doesn't mean that your bad things aren't bad. Just keep them in perspective.
Yeah.
So like if you had a bad day, you don't be upset that like, oh, well, there's people, that are homeless and don't have, that is a terrible thing. And that is something that, you should be cognizant of. But that doesn't mean that your crappy day can't just be a crappy day.
Right.
Like it's okay. Just keep it in the grand scheme of things, relative.
But I also love that it's kind of this situation. And that's why we asked the question, what's been like the best or worst thing? And keeping in what Lauren was saying about reframing things. Right. I like this idea of how people have been trying to take advantage. I even joked about this in the first episode. How people have taken the isolation and the being inside and try to turn that into something productive. So Lily, going back to what you were saying earlier, you mentioned that you have been practicing your instrument a lot more. Me too, right? I've been playing a lot of guitar and a lot of drums, a lot of bass recently. Not singing particularly well, but that's okay. I just do guide vocals.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. And then you also mentioned that you have gotten to develop a new habit of painting and you didn't even realize that you love that. Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, that's great. Like I love the fact. New hobby. Yeah, I like that people are like this. It's like explore a new hobby, get better at a thing that you were maybe interested in before you didn't feel that great at. Like I don't feel like I'm a great drummer, but I've gotten a lot better in the past few weeks.
Make it scientific and write it down.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Maybe it's a practice run for Genius Hour.
Yeah, or it is how you had to change your Genius Hour because you realized, oh, my project required 3 of us being in the same room at the same time. Well, that ain't happening anymore, nope. Right? Although I appreciate my soapaholics. Shout out to Caitlin Bailey and Katie, right? So you guys, you keep going, you keep on plucking. I will buy some soap, by the way. Why don't you hit me up? I'll take some. We need soap. The world needs soap. The world needs soap. That's your new slogan. You don't have to pay me a commission for that one.
No.
Right.
I like how you get the commission even though I'm the one that said it.
That's true. But it's my
either way, yeah, it's yours to take.
That's fair.
So the last 3 we have are Caitlin and Ethan and Patrick.
Yes.
They're all video submissions, so we're not going to say a whole lot here because they do a pretty good job of explaining themselves. I just want to say, we're going to end this segment, I think, with them. I really like how all of you, including the 3 videos that are about to pop up, have done a very good job of keeping this into perspective.
Yes.
Like you've all found something positive or at least noteworthy or at least something to work on through all of this. And you recognize that, and this is a tough thing to do as a teenager. It's a tough thing for some, I don't know, like 60-year-old moms to figure out, is that you're not the most important person in the world and that there are other people that matter. And I think all of you have shown an incredible amount of empathy. And that's something that's encouraging to me to see from all of you. So I think unless you have anything you would like to reply with, we're going to end this one here. Check out the next 3 video answers, and we'll have all of them posted at a later date.
I'm just laughing so I don't cry.
For me, personally, I think the best and worst things to come out of this pandemic situation have been kind of all over the place, really. For me, personally, the best things I would say are I have a lot more free time now than I would usually have in, my freshman year of college. Typically, this time would have a lot more projects, but with the transition to online, strangely, that's kind of been lightened a bit, which is kind of an interesting transition, but getting used to it has been an interesting challenge over the past few, weeks now. I've had a lot more time to devote to myself, just thinking about personal projects and goals for the future. I've had a lot more time to devote to entertainment, going through my Netflix watch list and playing various games that I've been putting off for months now because I just never had the time before. We adopted a shelter dog that we were fostering, but we loved him too much to let go. So we've got Bucky now. I get to spend a lot more time with my family than I would have being at college, being long distance from everybody. And I've gotten to kind of reconnect with friends that I also didn't really have the time to keep up with all the time. So, I mean, the biggest downside is that society's kind of come to a halt to prevent further spread of a virus. But because of that, it's kind of caused people to look inwards and work on themselves and their relationships more. And I think that is the best thing to come out of this otherwise pretty bad situation.
So the next question is, what's been the best moment of Davey? I would have to give that to, well, I'm not gonna say names, but it was like 2:00 one day, and it was on like a Wednesday or a Thursday, and a kid had decided to pull the fire alarm, and we all got evacuated outside, and it was raining pretty decently, and the football field where my friends and I had to go to evacuate was pretty much covered in water, and a lot of us had white shoes on. So that was very interesting. Definitely different. I spent a lot of time cleaning mud off my shoes after that. But I don't know, there's been a lot of good moments, but like some of those you just remember forever.
The best memory I have from Mr. Barker's class. The best memory was definitely the modernization. That was so much fun. It allowed us to get into a group and be creative and write our own play, design it how we wanted to, act it out in front of the whole class. And when you act it out, you don't have to worry about anyone judging you because they're all in the same boat. And we're all going through the same thing together for the first time. And I think that classes in the future will enjoy it just as much because they're so funny and they're just so much fun to present.
Okay, you wanted behind the scenes. Let's take it away.
As promised in the intro thesis
At some point.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway. So what you're looking at here is a drum kit. So you think it's mine, but it's actually not. So I'm going to let Barker explain this one.
Yeah, this is one that my wife and I got actually when we were not even engaged. We just decided that we
were you
pretty
not
much
born engaged?
I mean, well, and this is a story for another time, but I knew that I was going to propose to her after a month of us dating again. It was one of those things where it was like pretty clear.
Keyword. Again.
Yes, it wasn't the first time.
That's a whole different story.
That's a whole other story. Hey, maybe that's a subject for another episode. But yeah, if you take a look at that kit, we got that at like 2014 or something like that. And I remember starting to play drums with it pretty early on and then played much more sporadically just because guitar was the priority. Recently, I've been playing it a lot more because I've been doing so many more recordings of songs, and so I don't have to just call therapy up every time I need a drum track. I've just been trying to get better at playing, and so now I actually feel at least competent enough to play on my own stuff.
And I'm slowly, badly starting to learn guitar. It's not going great, but that's what happens when you learn a new instrument.
That is true. Definitely something worth looking at in more detail. But so the next thing you're looking at here is...
Speaking of guitars.
Yeah, speaking of guitars. Great segue. This is the most recent addition to my guitar collection other than just my bass. And this is a PRS, which I believe I also got in 2014. That was a good music year for me.
That was a good year for you.
Yes. It might have been that the drums were 2015, but I got this one, and I remember I played this thing in the store as a joke. Like, I remember thinking, like, I played a student edition PRS and I was like, this sounds really good. Already better than anything else I have here. I saw this one like a $1,300 price tag. And I said, you know, just for fun, I'm going to play it because we're in a guitar store and why not? And then I'm just going to go and put it back. I plugged that thing into this like Fender amp they had set up in this store, played one E chord, and immediately I was like, oh no.
Don't you love when that happens? Like you do something as a joke, knowing it's way out of your budget or price range or abilities or whatever. And like, because I've driven cars in the past. And it's like, I'm going to drive this, just I should not have driven that.
And my whole thing was like, I'm just curious, is the regular version really that much better than their student edition? The student edition is like 800, 13. Like, what do you get for 1,300? Quality.
You get a lot for 1,300.
You get a lot. It was so worth the money. So worth the money. And that, is my biggest guitar related purchase. Not cost as much as something like an acoustic drum kit. So like the reason the kit that you're seeing right now is even in here is just because Fairby here brought it over to the house just for jamming purposes.
Right.
But talk about like, when did you get that kit?
So I actually got it in high school. The bass part of it as a Christmas gift from my parents. I had started to take drums a little bit more seriously. I was interested in learning. Kit has never been my main focus. I had friends that were quite a bit better than me at kit. I feel like I'm competent. Right now, I'm still kind of getting my chops back on it. So I'm not playing, at the level that I could. Once I spent much more time on marching and stuff like that. But what you see here, it's a stage custom Yamaha kit in that cherry red. I love that cherry red color. It has all Sabian cymbals at this time. Might switch it out. I'm going to switch over to some Evans G1 heads. For those of you that know percussion, Evans. I'll probably sell off. I don't know if I can sell them. It's such a sentimental thing. I probably will never get rid of any part of this kit. But I'll switch over to some Zildjian K-series and A's and AAXs and some HHX, Sabians and all that stuff. But it's hi-hats, it's got a splash, China, 2 different crashes, a ride. Like, it's more cymbals than you really need. But I have them, and I don't use them all at the same time. Like, I kind of switch them out, depending on what we need. I don't even use all the toms all the time. Sometimes I take out the middle one. But that kind of, that was the musical side of things that we've referenced before. I don't know if you had anything else you want to say about any of your music stuff.
Nothing crazy except that one thing that we're not featuring in this tour is that I have just like a corner full of other guitars that I really don't play as much as I used to. There's one, like, that's where I keep my bass when it's not out. It's where I keep my acoustic, which I do play pretty regularly. There's a lot of other ones that for similar reasons I have not gotten rid of. It's just sentimental value. But I think that I'm becoming more okay with getting rid of some of these older guitars just because I know I don't play them that much and my other ones sound better. It'd be kind of like if you just got another drum kit that was just so much better than that one, you probably would be more inclined to part with it, sentimental value notwithstanding. But I say that as someone who has not gotten rid of any of his guitars, so I'm not the one to talk.
And it's also different, I think, on that aspect, not to dwell on it, is like I have one that was like the first really big Christmas gift I ever got. So even if I bought a brand new kit that I just decked out the way I wanted, it'd still be hard to get rid of it because I don't have the other ones to keep around. The next thing, though, you're looking over at the recording side of things. Now, not the audio recording. That kind of takes place all over. Miking up drums is difficult and something we have played around with, though we are not good yet at all.
And I do not have the funds for it.
Way too many mics that are required that we do not have the funds for because we are teachers.
Yes.
But you're looking at the desk. I think some of you have seen this already. It's just really stuff from our desk at school or home. You've seen it around. We're sitting on 2 drum thrones, actually.
That's true.
It's comfortable to sit long term on these. I'm sitting on mine. He's sitting on his. You see the guitars in the background. I think are a nice touch. He had those down here already.
Yeah,
but
these were
background.
God, I want to say I think these were gifts from
2014.
We had to have the house first to get these gifts. I will say yes.
Okay.
No, these I believe I got in 2017, or even like no, it might have even been after the wedding back in 2018. So
nice
yeah.
wedding.
It was a nice wedding. And not
Lots
just
of
because I
Easter
was
eggs.
in it. There were, yes.
Well, I've been in plenty of weddings, but I've
yeah.
never been to my own wedding. I imagine that makes it a little bit nicer.
Okay, fair enough. Fair
'Cause
enough.
I don't want to talk about it.
No, let's not dwell on that right now. No, apparently there's a Tinder account floating around somewhere. I don't know. We won't talk about that. We won't talk about that.
Yeah.
But
Somewhere. Not of my own, though. Let me make that clear.
yeah, no, there's these guitars back here and a few other bits of musical memorabilia. We might show you some shots of that in some future updates. Maybe even on Instagram. You know, we can kind of show some what the studio space looks like. But you know, what's really cool to me is the side that you don't see a whole lot is the lighting rig. And so we have a little shot of that here for you. And what I like about this is that I've know enough about lighting to know I don't know enough about lighting.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No,
and
that's like that first, because I mean, you can look at it from any kind of point of view about anything. Is you start off knowing nothing, and then you learn a little bit, and you think you know everything. The next step is learning even more to realize you're back to step one, where you think you know nothing. And then you just kind of start to go from there.
Yes. And so you'll even notice that we have lights that are facing away from us. And like, I've been in enough things, like I've done some photo shoots and things before where people have set up rigs and they've pointed it away to know that that's a thing. And I get it on some level, but on another level, more realistic level, I don't get it at all.
It's science.
It is science. Yeah.
It's a bunch of light science. It's physics, really.
Yeah.
It's the reflection or refraction of light, or the diffusion, or I mean, you can make this as nerdy as you want, but really it's, what do your walls look like? What are they painted? What kind of bulbs do you have? How bright are they? What color are they? There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into a good picture or a good YouTube video that if you watch the Hank Green video, you would see.
And, you know, I took physics and I understood some of that stuff, like, you know, just in that class, but we never talked about it that level. Like, this is like this. I would take this physics class right here. We're like talking about practical applications of physics for the modern, the 21st century student. Like, I would totally take that class.
You know what would be an interesting side podcast is if they asked us like to nerd out over certain things that they were curious about.
Ooh.
Like if they wanted me to go into more depth about how the physics changes your lighting of your photography or how a camera works, I would totally do that. But I don't want to put that on the main one.
No, that's fine. Tell us.
Pretty niche.
Yeah, tell us if you want us to do any nerd out episodes or like nerd out podcast stuff, because if so, I'll totally do that.
Yeah, and we can totally make it. Won't be the main one. It'd be like a side channel, if you will.
Yeah. See, we come up with so many good ideas. I'm loving this.
If it actually paid, you know, maybe I just do this. I don't know. So I don't have to see you all every day.
This is where
I'm just kidding. I don't get to see you at all anymore.
That's also true. Yeah. But yeah, so you're getting a little bit of a glimpse of where the generously we could call it the magic happens, right? The most magical thing in this room probably is the Harry Potter wand props we have on the desk. That I got from Wizarding World of Harry Potter that are propping up our props of Angus Young and the plant from your room. But yeah, so we're going to do this and just narrating it around, walking around with the camera. But one, it's incredibly shaky. We don't have enough equipment for that. Two,
I don't have $400 to get a lower end gimbal.
Yeah. And I also am not good at improving that kind of narration. And it just looks a little awkward. So still images and random audio over this notwithstanding. Hope you found this pretty interesting if you sat through it. If not, and you skipped over this section, you don't even know what I'm saying anyway, so it doesn't matter.
That's true. Anyway, we're heading out for this.
Yeah.
To the outro.
Yeah, head over to the outro. And we'll see you on the other side. So, thanks for watching. We're going to finish things up and hope you enjoyed the tour of my lovely studio space / downstairs room by the garage.
We got to come up with a better name for that, too. Like, that's another thing that needs a name.
I mean, because, like...
I hope you don't have kids anytime soon. Because they're going to be, like, 9
also true.
And still be blank Parker.
Right. No, I'm bad with titles, just in general. It took me forever to
How progressive.
It just took me forever to come up with titles for anything. Like, when I was working on my novel, it took me forever. Although I think Bloodweaver is a great title.
I like that.
I like that.
That's the first time I've heard that.
Oh, had you? Yeah. It's actually a pretty... it's a cool title. It's a cool magic system. I think it's just that's not my priority right this second. Mm-hmm. I am much more interested in music, which I also struggle to come up with titles for music. Like, I have all these instruments that you saw, but like I struggle even then. I'm writing songs. I'm like, cool riff 197. It might be something in B flat minor or something. You've got an idea.
That gives me an idea.
Okay.
Why don't next time we talk about a little bit of our music process, specifically you, since you do more of the writing. You know, like I hop over and play, you know, drums on the track, but you do a lot of the composing and everything. I give you some kind of advice, or if you ask for feedback, but that's
Honestly,
a lot
I'm
of
game with that.
So I don't want to.
I can make an entire episode of just about music stuff. I don't know if anybody would want to watch all that, but we could do an entire episode that's music related. So yeah, maybe just about kind of how all that started, because you started playing music, I think, before I really did, but we've been playing for about the same amount of time.
I started
or something
in
like
6th
that.
grade.
And I played something for like a little bit in 6th grade. Not to say too much about that right now, but I played a little bit of music in 6th grade, and I didn't actually get into until high school.
I'll just give you the broad overview of my life. I started in 6th grade because my mom was the band director.
That would make sense.
I just kind of did it for that reason. You know, like I'd been around it, so why not? Ended up really enjoying it. Played all the way through concert band at Appalachian. And after that, I got busy with science and other stuff like that and fell off the wagon, not to give too much away. Yeah. But like when I stopped taking it seriously was about the time that you started to take it seriously. Yeah. So we both played about 13 or 14 years. Yeah. It's just I've also had a 10-year gap in between when I was pretty good and where I'm at now.
Gotcha. Whereas my trajectory has been pretty consistent for the time. Yeah. So yeah, okay, so that's cool.
Right? I like that.
Yeah. Well, I just like nostalgia trips in general. I like just kind of going back and thinking, it's like, oh yeah, back to high school when I was just starting to cut my teeth in the guitar and it sounded so terrible. Oh god, there's so many stories. Oh gosh, it's gonna be fun. That'll be a fun episode. We don't have to talk about music the whole time, but I want to talk about that. I just like reminiscing on that in general.
I bet they'd like to hear what we were like when we were their age.
You'll be disappointed. No, actually, that might be kind of cool.
Maybe if enough people, and I don't want to throw him under the bus for this, maybe if enough people give us positive feedback, we'll pull out old yearbooks.
I have them.
I'd be willing to do that. I already put that stuff on my Instagram to make you laugh. So
you know what? Yeah, okay.
We'll see.
All right.
It depends on you.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll do a high school, throwback.
Yeah. Okay.
On top of talking about music.
Yes, which is not to say that if you don't still have questions that you want to ask us that you can't do that. If you want to cater them towards, like, do you have a music related question? Like, are you thinking about starting an instrument and you want to know more about that? Maybe we could help with that. Or shoot, if you just want to do something that's completely not related,
sports,
I'm sure
working out,
anything. I mean, if you got
tech, video games, just the whole gamut. Really.
If you got questions, ask. We're just kind of like generally outlining the next episode right now as we're talking
and
to you.
And it might not be that. Like,
it
if
might
a
not.
bunch of you say you want something else.
Then we'll talk about something else.
It's like class. We'll kind of tailor it to what you need, and this time we don't even have to have standards to hit. We can just make it whatever you want.
We have no standards.
That
should be the name of the podcast.
We have no standards.
Oh!
I think you just saw that live.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I think you just saw that live. Anyway.
Oh, I'm so happy.
I like that.
I am so happy. There's so many levels to that one. I'm writing it down. Oh man, watch that be taken.
Probably.
Oh man.
We'll make it work. But anyway.
I'm
excited. With that, we should probably tell them today's title.
I'm just so happy I figured out that title.
That's true.
Yeah.
So do you want me to take the other one then for you?
Sure, I don't remember it.
That's 3 in a row.
I can scroll up if you...
No.
Okay.
3 in a row.
I'm sorry.
Wash your hands and listen.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that.
And maybe also, if you're interested, give us a challenge and we may or may not accept it. Talk to you later.
Peace.